Hello, welcome back to the Shakey Sonnet Show. I'm Tootight Lautrec, the drag laureate of the Sonnetarium, and here we are once again in the Sonnetarium at the bottom of the down staircase in the permanently sequestered remainders section of an unnamed local library which may or may not have some shadows and light playing off the marble countenances of a stone lion or two on the front steps. Today, we're going to be looking at Sonnet 53, which asks the question, "Are you for real?" Which brings up the other questions, what is real and what is fake? Or more to the point of Sonnet 54, what is substance and what is shadow? Now, I'll beat you all to the punch and say, yes, Plato had a lot to say about this, shadows on the cave wall, etc., etc., etc. That's not really what this poem is about, and Plato and I really don't talk very much anymore, and I never really quite got what he was talking about. But I will link to a video that touches upon the whole Platonic idea of substance and shadow and the cave wall, etc., etc. But what is substance and what is shadow are good questions to ask when you're thinking about a lover, especially a lover who may have a history of skipping out for a twirl or two with other dance partners every now and then. But in this poem, there's none of that. In this poem, the narrator is completely smitten, as am I. So I envision this sonnet being whispered as one lover looks at the sleeping beauty of another lover next to him or her in bed after a little lovey-dovey time, with candlelight flickering in the background, casting shadows on all the lovely lines and angles of the beloved's face and body. And just what might be happening here is likewise a play of smoke and mirrors and shadow in the language of this sonnet. There's the play back and forth, of course, within the rhymes, but there's also a play within words like bounty and beauty, and the word one mirrors the word one, none mirrors none. And even the word show is a shadow of the word shadow, with the first two and the last two letters appearing with the middle letters being concealed. So there's that, and this I do believe magnifies the substance of the sonnet. And once again, as we've seen in other of Shakespeare's sonnets, we're dealing with what is seen and what is hidden. We're dealing with the idea of outer beauty versus inner beauty. And of course, when we're talking about outer beauty, we could be talking only about lust. But inner beauty, we're talking about what Shakespeare called true love. Lust and love. These are themes of which I, for one, never tire. So let's take a look at Sonnet 53. Sonnet 53. What is your substance? Whereof are you made, that millions of strange shadows on you tend? Since everyone hath every one shade, and you but one can every shadow lend. Describe Adonis, and the counterfeit is poorly imitated after you. On Helen's cheek all art of beauty set, and you in Grecian tires are painted new. Speak of the spring and foison of the year, the one doth shadow of your beauty show, the other as your bounty doth appear. And you in every blessed shape we know. In all external grace you have some part, but you, like none, none you, for constant heart. Well, it's a lovely sounding sonnet to begin with right off the bat. That first line, what is your substance, whereof are you made, is just really quite beautiful. And it does make me think that there are two lovers in bed, which is my invention, of course, but I do think of it as one awake, one asleep, another of my inventions, and the lover whispering to himself or to herself about the beloved. And the first quatrain, I can't believe how beautiful you are, even the shadows can't stay of you. What is your substance? Whereof are you made? That millions of strange shadows on you tend. And here tend means to attend, to wait upon you as if they are servants to you, flickering all over you and showing the million facets of your beauty. And then lines 3 and 4. Lines 3 and 4, Don Patterson says that here Shakespeare sacrificed clarity for music, and I tend to agree. There's a bit of a problem with the way that this line is punctuated in the 1609 quarto, and also there's a separation of the word every and one. Everyone appears twice in this line. In the 1609 quarto, the first every one is separate, as is the second one. And the comma, there's a comma that comes after one. So it's since every one, comma, hath every one, comma, one shade. And most editors squish the every one, the first one, together. So that's since everyone. Most editors also move that comma behind hath instead of one. So it's since everyone hath everyone one shade, so that it's an emphasizing of the idea of everyone has one shadow. So since you have everyone, since everyone has a shadow, and you do too, even though you have one, and you but one can every shadow lend, you can lend them your shadow because you have the best shadows of all, is what's going on here. Whether or not it's completely clear in the language of the 1609 quarto doesn't make any difference, because we do know what's going on. There's the, your shadows are the best shadows. One thing I do have to say about these shadows here, it's really, I think, an incredibly interesting move for Shakespeare to use shadows rather than brilliance and light to talk about beloved, simply because normally that would be the convention, but Shakespeare subverts the convention and uses shadows instead. And in doing so, he also, turns the lights down low and gets us ready for a little bit of sexy time. And the whole mood of the poem is set with the low lights and the shadows. And of course, while that's good for Shakespeare, it's not always best for a drag queen, because depending on when the lights are low, what the angles they are, it could be a nightmare from which you'll never awake. But I digress. Here we're talking about shadows in the bedroom. The lights are low, the light's perfect, no flaws shown. Best light ever anywhere. In the second quatrain, we get to the two most beautiful people ever. Describe Adonis, and the counterfeit is poorly imitated after you. Adonis, the most beautiful man in Greek mythology. If we were to paint a picture of him, you'd be more beautiful than that. On Helen's cheek, all art of beauty set, and you in Grecian tires are painted new. Tires meaning attire. So if I were to dress you up in Helen's clothing, number one, I'd pay for that show. Number two, you'd still be more beautiful than Helen ever was. So the two most beautiful people in the history of beauty, you'd still be more beautiful than they are. And then when we get to the natural world, even in the natural world, you overshadow the beauty of spring, you overshadow the bounty of, your beauty is bounteous, even more so than the autumn harvest. Speak of the spring and foison of the year. Foison is a time of plenty, like during the harvest. The one doth shadow of your beauty show, you overshadow spring. The other, as your bounty, doth appear, and you in every blessed shape we know. So your beauty is bountiful, even more bountiful than what we would see during an autumn harvest. And then we get to the couplet. In all external grace, you have some part, but you, like none you, for constant part. You're beautiful on the outside, you're beautiful on the inside. So I lust after you, but also I really truly love you. And like you, none. There's nobody like you, and none are like you for a constant heart. So you would never cheat on me. Your heart is constant. And this is tremendously lovely, but it's also slightly different from what we may have seen in the sonnets, particularly 40, 41, and 42. But here, even though it's a definite change in the relationship, I still buy it. This is, again, one of the beginning of the homecoming sonnets, if we're to think of this as a narrative. And if everything is hunky-dory when the lights are down low, I say everything is hunky-dory. So now, do we detect whether this is a male or a female in here anywhere? Well, neither. Both. Adonis. Helen. Have a party. Anything goes. It could be a male, it could be a female, at least in terms of the beloved. As far as the narrator is up for grabs in more ways than one, it turns out. But so the narrator could be a male or it could be a female, but so too could the beloved, since both are referenced to Adonis and Helen. Dramatic possibilities for this, if you were to place this within one of Shakespeare's plays, I would say anyone's wedding night, or perhaps in the boudoir with Romeo and Juliet before the nurse arrives. Possibly. In terms of a narrative, what do we think might be going on? Now, I have to emphasize again that I am looking at these for the first time myself, and so when I read them the way that I would read anything else, one at a time, one after the other. And the way that my mind works is to try to create some sort of narrative so that I can sort of place what's going on and I can remember these a little bit more distinctly as I go along. But I understand that that may not necessarily be the way that most people approach this, but this is how I'm doing it so that I can get a better grip on what's going on. So if we are to think of these as one narrator to one beloved, I think of this as the second in a series of homecoming poems. In 51, we saw the rider, the lover on the horse, riding home to the beloved. In 52, we saw the lovers finally reuniting so that they can consummate their long-awaited, seldom pleasure as the rider unfolds his imprisoned pride. And 53 is sort of post-kissy kiss and post-lovey-dovey, and I just have to say, what a relief. Here there is no mention of, well, there is a mention of it because the very last words are for constant heart. You are like none and none you for constant heart. So whatever troubles that may have happened in the past seem to be dissipated. There's no doubt, there's no jealousy, it's pure love, and I'll tell you what, I feel that love. And I hope you do too. Next time, we'll be looking at Sonnet 54 and 55, and I just want you to remember until we meet again that wonder is even in the shadows. Pay attention. Until we meet again, I am Tootight Lautrec.